Well, welcome to Crossing the Line Radio, but this time it's also available on video. And with me is a very special guest. I always say he's a very special guest, but this person is a very special guest. Mr. Gary Neiwand, champion Australian cyclist. He retired, a few years ago, and he won a lot in his career. And I was doing a little tally today that with Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, and World Championship medals, he won 6 + 4 + 3. It's 13 medals in that elite era of competition. But as a lot of athletes will tell you, and a lot of athletes have told us in Crossing the Line, is that the road in an elite career is not necessarily all about success. It's not easy. It's definitely hard, and there's a lot of underlying hardships and difficulties that athletes have to face. And also that period of transition is also a hard road to follow. Gary has been up and he's had the downs, and I'm really privileged to have him here with us today. Gary, thanks for joining us on Crossing the Line.
Thank you, Rupert. Good to catch up with you.
Certainly has been a long time, but as I was saying, in your career, quite often when I, as a journalist, I was used to interviewing you after successes, and sometimes when results haven't gone your way. Firstly, from an athletic point of view, because I know there's a number of issues that we're going to talk about on this edition of Crossing the Line, but from an athletic point of view, you achieved, just recounting that medal count there. That's an enormous amount of medals. And I do know, which we'll address a bit deeper a little bit later, but, that Olympic gold medal was the one that was missing. But since you retired, have you had a chance to sort of appreciate the success that you had?
I look back and, it's like medals. They're good. Probably as years go on and watch my kids grow, develop and participate in sport, I learned to appreciate what I did a lot more. But as you touched on, Olympic gold wasn't there, and that's all we trained for at the time. That's all we knew. That's what motivated us. So, I still feel as if I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, and I finished up failing what I wanted to get out of the sport. But I did, I'm quite happy with medals I got at world titles, although I'd love to have had more, but, due to one thing or another, I didn't achieve it, better cyclists and all that sort of thing around. But, I still feel let down by my achievements.
It's interesting. And as I said, we'll come back a little bit to that, but amongst those achievements, Gary, you won 3 world championships. It's 3 world championships is something. 2 in '93 in the sprint and in the Kieran, and '96 in the team sprint. 3 times world champion. And there has been an argument to say that winning a world championship is harder than winning an Olympic gold medal. In many sports, people say that.
Yeah, that's right. In cycling, definitely, it is harder. But you get a world title every year, and Olympic Games come around every 4 years, and just with the corporate sponsorship and all that sort of thing, and the media scrutiny that goes along with the Olympics, it's head and shoulders above for an athlete to perform better at the Olympics than the world titles. And you can go to the world titles every year, and no one knows. And it doesn't matter if you win 1 or 10 or you miss out. Still, the general public doesn't know, but you don't do things for the general public, you do it for yourself. But I know what I achieved and what I didn't achieve, so I'm the one that has to live with it.
Yeah. I know some those glory years of the Australian track team in total, those world championships, I mean, they were fantastic.
Oh, they were
meetings,
great times,
weren't they? And I would never be able to understand completely what you guys went through, but I remember when you'd get to like the '93s or the '91s, and the year before the Olympics, and that hiatus of excitement and confidence and strength of a team and individually, and you'd leave those world championships, and they're all great events to follow as a journalist, and you think, wow, this is something. But it's also part of the system that whether it's fair or not, it projects a team, an individual onto this platform of even inevitable success as the system may set up an athlete or a team for.
Yeah.
And then there is
cut away from you.
Yeah.
It's either, it either escalates into, the glory, or it falls apart. And then you've got another 4 years to contemplate doing it again.
I'd love to just go back to one, with your 93 World Championship win and that epic battle with Michael Hubner.
Yes, yep.
Which was not just a battle over one event. It was a rivalry which was like compelling to follow. And it came down to the final.
Best of three.
Best of three. And, Hubner was the big king. He was on and off the track, wasn't he?
Built like Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
He was a rock star. He was my training partner. I lived and trained and raced with him throughout Europe. Went to his home country. He took me in. His coach was my coach. We had the same manager. We did everything together. We had a great friendship, but a fierce rivalry at the same time.
So you came to this best of three series in an Olympic sprint final, or World Championship sprint final, or any sprint final. That people don't know that. He won the first one.
He won the first. I won the second.
Second.
And whoever won the third was world champion.
And it's been recorded because I was there. It was there as the most open sort of approach from him that anyone, I think, has seen publicly in track cycling, where basically he wanted you to
lay down,
throw the final.
Yep.
And he might have even assumed that you would say yes because of that intimacy between you, do you think? Or
I think he expected me to say yes, but he didn't really know me. But, there was a monetary value added on as well for me to lay down. But, I'd never won a world title before, and I don't think any Aussie battler would really, when you get to the biggest stage of the year for what you've been training and racing and sacrificed everything for, you're not going to throw it away.
Yeah.
So
when you look back on that decision, in sport, a lot of it's about decision making, and athletes can make the right decisions and the wrong decisions. The wrong decisions can lead you down a rabbit hole of consequences that can be really, image or reputation damaging. But for your pride to be able to say no and you raced it, was the value of saying no to Hubner equal to the gold medal that you had around you at the end of that last round when you won the world title?
I felt as if he disrespected me by asking me to lay down when he wasn't as quick or as good a sprinter as what I was on the day. And he wanted to go out on top. And in hindsight, he goes, lose this one, you win more down the track. I could have been run over by a car. I could have broken a leg. I could never have ridden again if I didn't win this one. So, to give away a world title like that, and for him to ask me to do that, I lost all respect for him. And it probably tarnished what I was feeling in regards to winning the world title. So, while it should have been the best time in my cycling career, winning your first world title, there was a lot of reflection and negative reflection, and maybe I should have, or I'm glad I didn't. And while I went out and celebrated, there was something inside me that just wasn't quite right with it all.
Yeah. Have you been in contact with Michael since?
Yeah. We've had a drink. He came out to the Worlds here a couple of years ago, and we sat down, we chatted, and we rode a couple of races afterwards. The couple of months after the world titles, and while it wasn't friendly banter, we spoke, we did our job, we were professionals, we had to do what we had to do. But as time goes by, we've had drinks and we've spoken about it. And
Okay. Now, obviously, in that period, that after '93, the Australian track cycling team was, it wasn't just you. The team pursuit squad was going really well. It was like building up to be the Olympic, a major Olympic. Well, it is always a major Olympic team in any Olympics, and it's happened in the Olympics since. What was the mood within the team? Your essence, you love the sport. I think it's one thing everybody who follows cycling, or who, a lot of people ride a bike because they love riding a bike. Was your passion for cycling the same as what it was when you started, and how did you feel that your piece in the puzzle was in the system at the time?
I enjoyed what I did, but I don't think I knew anything outside of cycling. So I don't think I really had the love and the passion for it as much as what I probably should have, mainly because that's all I'd done in life. So I didn't know anything else. I might have been into business. I might have, been doing other things, but I chose cycling, and I chose cycling at a good time when there wasn't too many other sprinters to take my position. So I had an easy run for the majority of my career to stay in this Australian team. So, it gave me trips overseas. It gave me everything. And, there was a lot to go with it, the Olympics and the world titles and Commonwealth Games and all that sort of thing. But, I look back now, and I was probably doing a lot of things, maybe for not the correct reason all the time. It was just an easier lifestyle, doing everything, getting trips away and doing everything. And I probably didn't commit myself to the sport 100% because there was no other competition for me.
Was that internally? Internally.
Yeah.
And because obviously, I should have mentioned before, in '92, you won a silver medal in the sprint in Barcelona.
Oh, I was going to say, did I?
Yes, you did.
That's right.
So obviously that was the platform to your World Championships next year. So it's a logically understandable pathway for a young athlete to follow. So this wasn't sort of the pushing or the encouragement from within a system to sort of say, look, Gary, this is all great. There's other things you've got to maybe at this stage of your career to sort of your life rather than career too.
Well, being a sprinter on the national team, we kind of were just a sideshow for the track endurance guys. Everything was revolved around the track endurance guys. The funding was from the track endurance guys, so we were all told. And the sprinters, we were just there. So, we whatever sprinters were travelling with me, we grew a little bit of a animosity towards the track endurance program and maybe some of the riders and whatever, because we were just shoved to the side and we were just there.
Yeah.
So, it did take a lot of gloss and all that sort of thing off. And so I think myself, I can only speak for myself, but sprinters were kind of just going for the ride without really committing to it all because of the way we were feeling coming from the hierarchy down.
Almost like you were a sideshow.
Yeah.
In between them.
Yep. But then if we did well, backslappers.
Yeah.
They were there.
Yeah.
And when I say backslappers, coaches and, the team that we went away with, were there. But
it's interesting when you look at the history of Australian cycling, where we've had such a rich history in so many fronts, but sprint cyclists, track cyclists were absolutely superstars. The sport was very much such a strong, rich heritage of all that, and then at that period of the time, that when there was success, World Championship success, and Olympic Games hopes, we're up there and very close.
Yeah, we all
that you still felt that at the same time.
Yeah, 93, as you said, world titles, teams pursuit, and myself. Then we go to the Olympics. Yeah, and so close yet so far.
Charlie Walsh was obviously the head coach of the track program.
Yep.
At the time, it could be maybe objectively argued say that I guess now you have track endurance coaches and a sprint coach. But when you've got one overriding coach over a whole program, how much of that was that the system put in place by Cycling Australia or by Charlie Walsh himself?
I think it was all. I think Charlie put the majority of it all into place. Yeah. And if he didn't put it in place, he worked with whoever put it in place. So he was overseeing everything.
Yeah.
He had no faith in the Australian Cycling Federation, and I don't blame him back then.
Yeah.
There was no reason to have faith in them. But Charlie, we were all based in Adelaide with Charlie, and it was away from Sydney, away from the federation, and he could get away with being a dictator, so to speak.
And you're all very young athletes at the time.
And we followed.
And you followed. And
because that's all we knew.
Yeah.
And if you upset the apple cart, you wouldn't be at the market.
Yeah. Now, just moving along a little bit, but it's still under the same system, ostensibly, because building up to, it's gone from 92 Olympics and then 96 Olympics and then 2000 Olympics. In between that, you've had world championships. Like 94, you won Commonwealth Games as well. Commonwealth Games, yeah, three Commonwealth Games. 86, well, before 92, 1990 and 94. 3 Commonwealth Games. Gold medals, consistency of form, performance. That's a long time to be.
I was lucky.
You keep saying you're lucky.
I was lucky.
Why do you say you're lucky? Because
you've got to be there to win, I suppose. But
you're setting a benchmark too. Luck doesn't come from benchmarks don't come from luck, do they?
You've only got to beat who's there. I was lucky. Talent was down in '86, and what was the next one?
1990, yeah.
Where was that? That was in Canada.
Yeah, Vancouver, wasn't it?
No, that was in New Zealand.
New Zealand, sorry.
Yeah.
Near Vancouver.
Yeah, almost. Who was there? I beat Harnett.
Yeah.
Harnett was a good sprinter back then, but not a pure sprinter. He came from a time trial background. And, I was the best sprinter there, but again, I was lucky that there's no better sprinters. Yeah.
So did you feel by the time you came into 2000, you're still chasing this still elusive gold medal? Yeah. And the 2000 Olympics, you ended up with a sprint over the silver and the Kieran.
Yep.
And you got a bronze in the team sprint. But I think the Kieran was your last event in that.
The last race of the program.
Last race of the program.
Yeah, straight after the gold in the Madison.
Yeah. So what was your mindset coming into that Kieran? Was it like, this is my last roll of the dice for gold, or was it, we were able to focus on this is a race to try and win it?
I hadn't ridden an international race for probably 2 years before the Sydney Olympics.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd, taken time off and walked away from the sport, but I come back and I was probably the most relaxed I'd ever been because there was no expectations. I didn't have any expectations on myself, and no one had them on me because I hadn't been on the international scene. So I never pictured myself not being in the final, but I never looked forward to being in the final. I didn't picture myself anything. I rode one race at a time, and results took care of themselves. And I almost forgot to warm up for the final because I was watching another race, and I thought I better get on the bike. And after the first heat, another Australian cyclist come up and talking tactics to me and all that sort of thing, because my mind just wasn't tactically fit because I hadn't been racing. I was physically fit and probably the fittest I've ever been, the lightest I've ever been, body fat wise and all that sort of thing. But I was probably the most relaxed, and those results are probably the Kieran result is probably the best result I've ever had. I'd classify that more than winning the world titles.
Really?
Because I'd come from nowhere and come back, put myself out there and just got beaten on the line. So to me, that's my best race I've ever ridden, and the one that I'm probably the most proud of, I suppose.
Really? Of all your career? Of any?
Yeah.
And by that point, mentally, you had sort of, had you sort of cut yourself off from the attachment of the system that was in place? Charlie's system.
Yeah, we had a sprint coach in Gary West.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
and I was with Gary for a while before I took the time off, and then he was still coaching, and he looked after us well, and we had a voice because we weren't trained by a track endurance coach that now said, okay, you're sprinters, you train fast. We had a sprint coach that actually went away with and spent time with, and we, grew close to.
Yeah. So actually, there was a platform for you to ostensibly finish on a positive note.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't anticipated that being my last international race. In an ideal world and all that sort of thing, I probably had one more Olympic Games in me, I would have thought. But that's another story. Yep.
Just about the system of Australian track cycling. The question, and this goes with the track endurance and the sprint group. Actually, there's two questions. One, was there a sense you were just a part of a factory?
Yeah.
Made to churn out medals, and was that to protect people's jobs or to protect because of a system, a national system, Olympic system? I don't know. Is it?
I don't know if it was to protect people's jobs. I suppose in hindsight it is, because if you're not winning medals, questions were asked and coaches have moved on as well as athletes. So I suppose it is, but it was just a numbers game. Come in, if you're good, you stay. If you're not, you're out. But like I said before, I was lucky there wasn't too many sprinters around and I was able to stay.
But emotionally, it must have, within the squad, you still put into a squad, even when you said that the track endurance guys, there was some resentment, resentment was built up because of this situation. I mean, then you went on tours together to far off distant places, not the most exotic places around the world. You spent weeks or months in Budken in Germany.
In Budken and Mexico. And, it's not paradise.
No.
But not, for where they go these days and what's set up. But, look, packing a bag and saying goodbye to family and friends and all that sort of thing, knowing you're going to be away for 4, 5, 6, 7 months and all that sort of thing. It's not hard. It's not easy, but at the time it was a job. And, while you got the animosity maybe towards a few or the group or whatever, majority of the time you got to get on. Otherwise it's a long trip.
Yeah. So. After 2000, Gary, you said you still felt you had another Olympics in you. But that was a turning point in your life, maybe not the turning point, maybe it was coming up to a corner with your mental health at the time. You depression set in.
Marriage fell apart, depression fell in, said it'll come in, but one thing led to another and it just snowballed, and I was getting into place I couldn't get myself out of and all that sort of thing, and the negative mindset and everything, and you go down one path and you just can't get out of it.
When you look back on that, can you see a point where you could have got out of it, or where there could have been, for the benefit of hindsight,
hindsight's great,
where something could have been done to help yourself, and not just because there were other, there's a series of track sprinters who've gone down
similar paths,
which was actually another question. So if I can actually get to that question first before, there's this, you're not the only track cyclist who's had a tough life dealing with out of track issues for various circumstances and outcomes. I mean, we've gone from the most drastic of, Joby, with suicide, to people who've have had to go to prison. You've had to do that. People who've had all sorts of incidents. What was intrinsic about the sprint group?
I think sprinters are fast twitch and hyperactive, and you can go from 0 to 100 back to 0 like that. And life isn't just plateaued out. You've got your peaks and your troughs and all that sort of thing. And while all that's well and good in an athletic or sporting part of your life, you've got to learn to adapt to life away from that, where you can't have your peaks and your troughs and everything. You've got to become a little bit more, I hate saying it, normal.
Yeah.
But, and things don't just go wrong. Things go drastically wrong or drastically right. So you're either on top of the world or, you're down.
Yeah.
And, it was just a roller coaster ride. Yeah. And it's one that, I sit here now and, you look back and you think, why, how, and all that sort of thing. And why don't you just snap and get out of it? But when you're back there, nothing's straight.
Yeah.
You're doing things and you're doing things and doing things right or wrong, whatever, but you just can't stop things. And everything's just rolling. So,
and also within a sprint group, in that mindset, you've got maybe one or two different generations of athletes coming through, and you're fighting for positions.
This is when it was all done.
Yeah.
Okay. This after.
Yeah. But even beforehand. You're fighting for positions to be selected. You've got to use mind games as much as your physical prowess.
I screwed my Australian opposition mentally. Yeah. There might have been some better bike riders, but because they were young and probably naive, I was able to mentally destroy them.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in a proud way.
No.
I say that in a way that I knew it saved my ass being in the team to go away again.
But that's also in a sprint world championship.
Otherwise, Olympic, someone's doing it to me.
You've got to do that too, haven't you?
Someone early on in my career come up to me and said, "You'll succeed. You've got a lot of bastard in you."
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to take it at the time, but
maybe that's when you look at it. That's why just to use the case of a sprint group, a system should be in place to be able to
cope with it,
help athletes cope with it, de-stress after
we had nothing like that. I suppose that's why we drank a little bit.
Yeah, I guess you find a solace through different means yourself. And we were talking about post 2000, and you did seek the drink a bit. The depression came in. Your
social drugs.
So how quickly, there's been a number of headlining events, but how quickly did that pattern kick in?
Oh, yeah. With a sprinter, nothing takes its time. It's straight away. When you're not packing your bag to go away and to race and whatever, there's 8 months of your life that you got to fill in. It's all those days and all those months and all the hours of the day, and it's like going from someone assembling your bike to virtually packing your bag and doing everything for you to then realise you've got nothing and no one. When I say, I still had at the time wife and family and all that, but I didn't have a job and had nothing, and you got to fill all that time in, and I didn't fill it in too good.
Yeah. Was there people who you expected or hoped would have been there to support you, or did you become reclusive?
Well,
because you were kind of possibly this perception of being ashamed of what or feeling you were. I don't know. Was there a balance between?
I felt useless because I wasn't anything anymore. I probably expected too much from too many, and probably didn't give myself a kick up the backside to make myself do things because I hadn't had to for that long.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to. So, I can sit and point and blame people for not helping me. I didn't help myself because I didn't know how to.
It's on record, obviously, which is some awful part of, I guess, your story. There is a police record of various incidents.
Yep.
Rather than me ask you, I mean, are you comfortable to say what that record is without?
Honestly, there's been that much. I can't really record all, but you can bring it up and.
I was just out of clarity or integrity of the interview.
Yep.
And this is what the records I have here from checking that 2006. you breached a intervention order for harassment of a former girlfriend.
Yeah.
And
I think it was by telecommunication.
Yeah, and then you were at Port Phillip, then you went to Beechworth, and then you were released. You had 18 months, but then you were released after 9
months, and then 9
parole.
Yeah.
And later, in 2007, you were with the Sunrise Foundation that was trying to destigmatise depression. Wayne Schwass's initiative. 211, you're guilty of 2 counts of exposure in Melbourne. After 2 previous incidents, and 212, you had a 4 months suspended sentence. 4 months sentence suspended for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And there were headlining incidents.
Yeah, they were headlining,
which were,
as the judge said when he sentenced me once, because of who you are, we'll use you as an example.
Yeah.
That's like, okay. Yeah.
How did you take that?
Well, I was just numb to everything, and I had no real feeling as to what was going on. It's probably one of the best days of my life. The day I got locked up, I suppose. I tried suicide. They found me in a car, overdosed pills and alcohol.
On the day?
No, not that day. Before all that.
Yeah.
So to get locked up was a good turning point, and probably one of the most positive days of my life.
Like almost like a bottoming out experience.
Just weight of the world.
Yeah.
Where I wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it also took a lot of strength from, your wife, Kathy.
Great friends.
And she came through to support.
Yeah.
There's recognitions that what you were suffering from was a...
She knew there was something wrong and whatever. And she, I was going to say holds no animosity. But, I put her through hell. But, I walk into the house, we ring each other. We're there for the kids, and, we're there for each other. So,
It's interesting that's at the end of the day, recognition of what are your grassroots of your life as a person, not as an athlete anymore. You're not a medal producer.
No.
You're not a battery head. Not a battery head anymore.
I'm my kid's dad.
Yeah,
that's all.
And that's
what I want to be. Yeah, and mum, dad's son. I'm happy being Gary. Yeah.
Did you find in prison, was there a system in place to support each other? I mean, it's easy to watch the TV shows and hear about what happens in prison and not.
There was programs in there. You did what you had to do to get ticked off.
Yeah.
But I might sound funny. I mixed with the right crims.
Yeah.
You can pick and choose who you socialise with down the street.
Yeah.
You can pick who you go to the pub with and have a drink. You can pick who you talk to and who you live with in jail. You can go down the right path or the wrong path. And I picked the right path, and I've chosen it. That's where I'm going.
It's sort of common sense of working out.
Oh,
yeah.
I was a small fish in a big pond in there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to make it as any more difficult than what it was.
Was it people who knew you as an Olympic star, even though I know you didn't get the Olympic gold, but saw you as a superstar?
I was known in there, and that's what they were worried about, because I had a name. People could have made a name for themselves by doing things to me. So I was a bit wary and whatever, but got through it.
Yeah. Were there any without respecting privacy, of course, of names and stuff, because I realise the sensitivity of this, but were there people there, as you said, there were not bad crims, they were good crims. Good people can make bad decisions that can be life-changing. And I know you well enough that's the case.
Yeah.
Were there good people in there who you're still in contact with?
No. Bumped into a few, but that's one part of my life where I've really forgotten about it. It's like I have trouble remembering that part of my life.
Yeah.
I've just pushed it at the back, and I've moved forward, and I've got good people that have stuck by me, and that's all I need now.
Well, we're talking about good people who stuck by you. John Beasley,
legend,
and he's a legend to Australian cycling from beginning to now in your lifetime, and into a lot of other people who he's
definitely
been so good with. You're working for Beasley Bikes.
Yes.
Now, when
manage it,
so not working for you. You're the boss of Beasley Bikes. BBB.
I keep telling John that.
Yeah. Well, his name ends with he's a B as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway, so before you joined Beasley Bikes, this I guess it's the pathway. Was it the pathway of redemption, or just a pathway of moving forward? Who are some of the people who helped you and sort of? I mean, was John the first one who helped?
John stuck by me the whole way through.
Yeah.
He came in and supported me, on the multiple days in court. He was there for me. And I wanted to try and repay him a little bit. When I got out, didn't have a job, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to take time off and just get myself back together. And 10 kilometres from home. So I used to get up, drive over there, clean their shop, do things for them, paint the outside of the shop, just help them. And, I wasn't getting paid for it, didn't want payment for it. And then one thing led to another. I got a shift, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, whatever. And I thought, this is all right. And then it went from there and it snowballed. And John's the Malaysian national cycling coach, so he's away all the time. And, I just took it upon myself to allow his shop to run as good as it could be when he wasn't there. And now I'm managing it. So,
and when you're managing, clients are coming in. Probably a lot of clients want to talk about old bike stories.
They do.
Do you sort of?
Nah, look, they do. They know I'm there, and some people recognise me and all that sort of thing. But I'm Gary. If people want to come in and they talk about it, that's fine. But if they don't, they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So I'm just the fat old guy that serves them.
You like being Gary, the fat old guy?
I'm just Gary. I'm just no tickets, no nothing. Just I just enjoy what I do.
Do you still ride a bike?
Yeah. Yeah. Go with some group from work.
Yeah.
Meet in the morning, go for a ride, and good group of young kids.
Yeah. And you enjoy riding the bicycle?
I love it. Well, when I say I love it, I ride so I can get to the cafe.
Yeah, that's where it starts.
Yeah, I got myself fit, and I'll never race again. No inclination to race. I don't want to race again. I hurt myself on the bike. I like to push myself. Nothing like you riding across the world. But
I didn't quite do that.
Well, felt like it watching it. But
hearing the stories.
Here
we go. Another.
But no, look, I ride. I can't get the competitiveness out of me. I don't like the younger kids beating me at the end of the strand. I check Strava all the time. I try to get KOMs and all that sort of thing. But but that's my life. That's my race.
Yeah, Strava.
I'll never put a number on. I'll never do that again.
Okay, but people know you're on Strava. You don't have a nom de plume or like a secret name.
Just GN, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. See all these sprint markers.
And they're only short sprint markers. Sorry about that. But
do you like a long sprint or a short one?
Only short these days.
Like a little 50
and
metre, 20 metre one.
Tailwind too.
So Gary, when you talk about the bike riding, the essence of I've spoken about this to a lot of people about what brings everybody together in a sport, and quite often, if you talk to a footballer, they'll, whatever code is, they'll talk about the smell of the grass and the earth, and it takes them back to when they were a kid. Just copping it left, right, and centre in any tackle or whatever. With the bicycle, like I still remember my first just days on a bicycle was a crash, and another time having another bike, I'd discover my local area where I lived. That sense of independence, the adventure, and also sense of human power, which comes down to independence.
Yeah.
What do you love about riding the bike now that makes you feel you still love it? The bike. Take away the politics. Take away the
Like I said, I only ride so I can get to the cafe. I'm a very social rider. I probably didn't enjoy the bike when I was riding the bike. I've got a couple of bikes, I think, at home that I used to race on. I gave majority of mine away, I'm not sentimental when it comes to things like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I ride because I've got to keep the weight down.
Yeah.
I jumped into the gym a couple of years ago with my son because he was training for football, and I just love pain, love all that sort of thing. And it's, being in the gym's probably the main thing I miss from my competitive days. And the pain associated with riding the bike, but not the enjoyment of racing. Just the pain associated.
How's your jump test these days? Because you were very good at that when you
used to be all right, but I'm carrying a lot more weight now to move. So, yeah.
A lot more to jump.
Yeah, I think I can jump a puddle.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah, yeah. They're not high, but I'll
probably
pick my puddles.
Okay. And lastly, Gary, just a final word for young cyclists coming through now. I mean, there are initiatives that are in place to try and help athletes coming through. Obviously, crossing the line, we're trying to do that as well. But just as if you're a young, say, a young athlete or a young cyclist today, what would your advice be if they dead set wanted to pursue a career which could lead to becoming a professional?
Education, family, and enjoy. Yeah, don't there's too much emphasis put on being successful at such a young age. Just get out there and do as many things as possible. Don't limit yourself to just being a sprinter or just being a track endurance or whatever. Experiment in everything, and your path will find you. Just enjoy.
Well, I can't think of a better note to finish this chat off. Gary Neiwand, all I can say is, thanks very much for your candor, and thank you for the memories of times. I mean,
we had a good time.
Hi, we had a great time. I loved reporting on your races, and
it was good.
I knew there was I guess I obviously learnt later afterwards the struggle that you went through, and I think it's a credit to how you held yourself up and you did what you did.
I cut me out of it. That's the main thing.
You that's the main thing. You came out of it. In fact, you can say you enjoy the bike and everything.
Yeah, I enjoyed it in a strange way these days.
Hey, we're all strange.
Well,
that's what makes us unique as human beings.
Exactly.
Gary, thanks very much,
Thank you, mate.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. All
Great
the best.
to catch up.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.